Charles Jeffries from Seattle Central College. And today I'm going to talk about the year of the snake. The year of the snake. Okay, it's really no coincidence. I'll get the slides. Oh, there's no coincidence. Or is it a coincidence? I don't know. 2005 is considered the year of the snake as far as, Chinese New Year's. And it's pretty interesting that during the year of the snake is also Donald Trump's second term as president. Okay, but think snake, the nature of the snake in general. Okay, I read an article a couple of weeks ago saying Vladimir Putin is convinced that America is nearing its end. And I thought about that. Well, why are we surprised? I mean, he's convinced because he has something to do with putting Trump in the first time. Okay, and even Hillary Clinton even admitted. She said that that Donald Trump was a puppet of Putin, a puppet of Putin. Okay, in other words, Putin put this snake in on time and helped the snake get elected, and now his whole cabinet is snakes. Yeah, a whole cabinet of snakes, a cabinet full of snakes. Okay, let's talk about Pete Hegseth. He's the head of the military now, and so forth. Think about this guy had all drunken driving issue, or not drunk drive, alcohol abuse issues, inappropriate sex behavior, even a case where he's been drunk on the job, and they put this individual ahead of the military. Okay, it's really interesting. Also, neo-Nazi associated. Okay, put this individual ahead of the military and already firing people. We're talking about DEI hires. This guy is nowhere near as qualified as the previous individual who held that position. Okay, and then you talk about Kash Patel, the head of the FBI. I mean, think about this. Now he has access, no rules, no guardrails. At least that's the way it looks right now as far as Donald. He has no guardrails and put somebody like, and look at his face. He even looks like a snake, look like the snake there. Next individual, Linda McMahon, head of the Department of Education. This individual, from my knowledge, didn't have very much teaching experience or administrative experience or dealt with schools in general. One of the heads of the wrestling organization. Okay, and you put someone like this ahead of the Department of Education, where children's futures and people's futures are there. Okay, and further, Tootsie Gibbard. Okay, head of the National Intelligence. Okay, the main intelligence officer, and worst of all, the ultimate snake is Elon Musk. I mean, this guy's not even American. He's a white South African, and putting a foreigner in ahead of everything, having access to Social Security, having access to unemployment, having access to all this information. Someone who's not even an American. Okay, this guy's South African, white South African. Okay. Of course, African Americans, Black people saw it coming. 80% of Black people voted for Harris. In other words, 80% of Black people voted against Trump. And then educated white folks, they knew what time it was, because majority of college-educated white people voted against Trump, or rather voted for Harris. On the other hand, whites without college degree overwhelmingly voted for Trump. White farmers overwhelmingly supported Trump. And this Rachel Maddow, here's what she says. Could you play the first video?
It's true that not understanding how old 81 years old looks sometimes is maybe a Democratic Party mistake. But Democrats are not the party that picked the guy whose charity was shut down as a fraud, whose fake university was shut down as a fraud, whose business was convicted on multiple felony fraud counts, whose CFO is quite literally in jail, who had one personal lawyer put in prison and the other has lost his law license, who has been charged under the Espionage Act for whatever this is that he was doing with highly classified documents, including, reportedly, nuclear secrets, who was found liable by a jury for sexual assault, who has been charged with more than a dozen felonies under a RICO indictment in the state of Georgia, and who really has been found guilty by another jury of 30-plus felonies for which he is now awaiting a possible prison sentence. That's who you guys picked. I love that the worry in this instance is that the Democrats might have made a bad choice for their nominee. Only in America.
All right. Like I said, Rachel Maddow, I mean, she's really a sharp individual. and she does her research, which I really like about her. But I couldn't think of anybody who said it any better than she said it. Okay, this time, but the problem is people who voted for Trump now, they're having second thoughts. Latinos are having second thoughts. Union workers was really interesting. I was surprised when the auto union workers supported Trump, because union workers instinctively don't trust Republicans. So it really surprised me. Auto workers did, but then as soon as Trump got in, he gut punched them. Okay, federal employees, farmers, veterans. Okay, all these folks. And veterans are really the one that gets me. You think about even back in the Roman and Greek days, politicians got promotion, politicians got reelected, officers got promotions, but the basic foot soldier always gets screwed throughout history. And it's showing an example of that now, particularly Trump's contempt to a certain extent for vets, large populations of vets. Okay, could you show
I'm Rick Rodriguez. I'm a disabled Iraq War veteran, a VA worker, a proud SEIU Youth Steward representing Illinois. I proudly serve my country, and now I proudly serve my fellow veterans. But right now, the Trump administration is trying to cut the VA, frontline workers, and let billionaires steal our health care. Veterans, we're under attack. Last week, 1,400 workers got fired illegally. 22 of them are my colleagues at the at Hines VA Hospital. Some of them didn't even get a real notice. All I got was this: an email with X's where the date should be and no name. That's how little they think of people and our veterans in this country and that they serve our country. They're slashing staff, crushing unions, and selling at the VA for what? Civilians can make more money while veterans sit on a wait list. Worse, they'll get no treatment. Our president was asleep while Musk was at the wheel. Do you know that happens to a serviceman when they fall asleep when they're on duty? Veterans don't trust him. He's not one of us. We're not about to sit back and take the SEIU. We're fighting back. We're organizing and we're taking action. We're not going to back down. On the south side of Chicago, we stand on business. It's time for you to do the same. We've done our duty. Now we're asking the administration and Republicans to do theirs. We serve this country. We know how to take it. Take the fight to them, and we'll know how to win. Thank you.
All right, think about this: an individual who fought and risked his life for the country, and then get treated the way they did. The way they get treated, the way they did in those terms.
Captain Luis Avila, a U.S. soldier severely wounded by an IED explosion December 2011 in Afghanistan.
According to a stunning new profile in The Atlantic, following wounded Army Captain Luis Avila's rendition of God Bless America, Trump walked over to congratulate and embrace him. But moments after that, the former president told Chairman Milley, quote, "Why do you bring people like that here? No one wants to see that. The wounded. Never let Avila appear in public again."
I think that was a moment that was deeply unnatural for American military leaders, not just Mark Milley. They venerate veterans and combat survivors like Captain Avila. The idea that you would hide them, it's repugnant. It runs counter to their instinct. I don't think Mark Milley, when he came in 2019, thought he was dealing with Mr. Rogers. It took until Lafayette Square the next year for Mark Milley to fully understand what he's dealing with here.
Think about that. Like the veterans, these are people who put their lives on the line. I mean, risk their lives, sacrifice everything, and then get disabled, and then turn around and get treated at this level. Okay, it amazes me, how so many folks could still support such an individual. Then the auto workers. Okay, auto workers. I mentioned them before. I mean, union. Once again, labor. Organized labor, unions. Okay, unions is what keeps basically quality high jobs, keeps job stability, and also quality of work. People don't realize. And generally speaking, unions instinctively, like I said before, don't really trust Republicans. but the head of the American Auto Workers Union at the last minute supported Trump. And then what Trump did in return? He has put up a union busting attorney, okay, over everything. Okay, farmers, same thing. Farmers, you just want to get
Maybe y'all saw the news out of Nebraska today. Apparently, our entire state is going to go bankrupt in 2 quarters. Me and my husband owned a cattle ranch here, and I can confirm that all of the cattle ranchers here overwhelmingly voted for Trump. We support him. We voted for him. Something like 70% of our entire workforce is undocumented immigrants, and they straight up are not showing up for work anymore. They have all either fled the country, fled the state. They don't want to get raided while at work, so they have just moved on to work somewhere else. And straight up, we are going to go bankrupt now. We are going to go bankrupt. And yeah, we voted. We knew that the immigrants would get deported and he was coming after immigrants, yet we still voted for it. Overwhelmingly voted for our own demise. I was talking to my husband last night, and I have to admit that it seems a bit foolish now when you think about it like that we voted for something that is now putting us directly out of business.
Think about that. Farmers, that brings up now an issue here. Earth deserves more than a day. April 21st to 26th to 25, the Columbia Theater, Columbia City Theater, okay? Oh, you got the picture. Okay, so that's actually where I first came in contact with this organization. So looking forward to see they have really some good speakers, really good activities going, and it's very important nowadays. It's kind of like the farmers. I mean, they feed the society. Okay, and that kind of goes back to these are individuals who are providing the food for these people to eat. Now they're even hurting. Okay, once again, to a certain extent, voting against their best interests. West Virginia, fascinating. Considered one of the worst places in America to live when it comes to poverty, when it comes to health care, mental health, quality health care. Even missing teeth. Okay, more people in West Virginia have missing teeth than people from other parts of the country. Could you show a video on West Virginia?
This flag used to hang there. This was the flag Jennifer Piggott proudly hung outside her home during campaign 2024.
We had the flag. I had the shirt. I was a MAGA junkie.
A MAGA junkie who thought her government job would be safe with Donald Trump in office. She was wrong.
I cried. It's scary, it's a really scary thing. And I was embarrassed.
He's a good boy. Piggott was abruptly fired last month from the Treasury Department's Bureau of Fiscal Service, based here in Parkersburg, West Virginia. The reason given for the firings of 125 probationary employees at the Bureau? Poor performance.
I had my last review on the 31st of January, and I had the highest rating that you can get on a review, less than 21 days before I was terminated for my performance.
You voted for Donald Trump.
I did.
Do you regret that vote?
Yes, I do. To cut the knees out of the working class Americans just doesn't make sense to me. I expected more from President Donald Trump.
Since speaking out, Piggott says she's received death threats and her home has been egged. This woman asked us not to show her face for fear of retribution. She recently retired from the Bureau of Fiscal Service because she was afraid of losing her health insurance if she was fired. She also voted for Trump.
Would you still have supported him?
I'm not sure that I would have. The way that it's been done, I'm for balancing the budget, that type of thing, but not in this context. It's just not right.
Earlier this month, a federal judge ordered half a dozen federal agencies to immediately offer thousands of probationary employees their jobs back. But this week, the Trump administration asked the Supreme Court to put that judge's ruling on hold and stop those employees from returning to work. Eric Engel is a representative for the National Treasury Employees Union.
They are fully reinstated, all 125 of them. They are on paid admin leave.
Now they're getting paid for not doing their job. So did the government really save any money here?
Not at all, no. That's not, I mean, personally don't believe that was ever the point, but they're not saving any money from these probationary and trial period employee firings. This has nothing to do with eliminating waste, fraud, and abuse.
The Bureau of Fiscal Service employs more than 2,000 people here in Parkersburg. People we spoke with told us it's considered the place to work. Jobs at the Bureau are hard to come by, and people have always believed it was one of the most stable employers. Rhonda Bragg is another probationary employee who was fired from the Bureau. She didn't vote for Trump because she feared something like this might happen.
A lot of people who voted for Donald Trump lost their jobs now. What do you think about that? What do you want to say to them?
You know, at first I wanted to say, when all this happens, you deserved it. At the same time, they're in the same spot that I am. And I honestly don't think any of us deserved it. It's not even $50,000 a year. You know, it's not that much money. I'm blue collar just like the rest of them in this valley.
In a statement regarding the reinstated employees, a spokesperson for the Treasury Department told us they are weighing how best to consider their performance, Treasury's operational needs, and the Trump administration's government-wide effort to increase efficiency.
Come on, baby.
That's hardly any consolation to Jennifer Piggott and her family.
If you could say anything to President Trump now, what would you say?
I expected better from you. I really did. I expected that you would do what was right and cut waste and fraud and all of those things that you promised us before we elected you in office, but you're not doing that. You're creating a disaster, and I don't know what America's going to look like if this continues.
Wow, you think about that. And what really got me about the video was that people gave her death threats for complaining about losing her job. Remember that? And someone egged her house, gave death. I said, wow. I mean, this person's getting messed over. All these people getting screwed over. And when they're getting messed over, well, you're a bad person. Okay. But back to the snake. There's my grandmother one time told me this story about a snake. Okay. Where the lady was in the wintertime, saw this beautiful snake out there in the yard. It was almost dead and frozen. She brought the snake in, put it by the fireplace, warm it up. When she went to pet the snake bit her. And as she's dying, she said, why did you do that? I saved your life. He said, you know I was a snake when you brought me in. Okay, this brings us to Amos. Okay, in terms of, and then I'll wind things after that. Okay.
If someone's check were to go missing for a week, that if they weren't to receive their Social Security check, and he mentions his mother-in-law.
Let's say Social Security didn't send out their checks this month. My mother-in-law, who's 94.
Now, his mother-in-law, his whole family is well off. He's a billionaire. But he's using her as if she's the representative for everyone on SSI. I want you to think about how tone deaf you have to be, how detached from reality of the everyday American you have to be. He goes on to say that she wouldn't fret about it, right? She would just say, okay, something must have happened. It'll come next week.
She wouldn't call and complain. She just wouldn't. She'd think something got messed up and she'll get it next month.
Yeah. But that's not the real issue. That we can overlook his stupidity, right? It reminds me of when someone was asking Bill Gates how much is the price of milk. And he was like, I don't know. Most of these people, when it comes to billionaire class, they're completely detached from reality. Completely and utterly detached from reality because it's a different lifestyle entirely. But the issue is not even that. The issue is what he then labels the rest of the people. Okay, the issue is what he then labels Americans who may be living paycheck to paycheck, which is the majority of American people, Okay, majority of American people can't afford, health insurance. Majority of American people can't afford a doctor's appointment. If something were to go wrong, you can't afford to have to go to the hospital and have it fixed because you have to go to work. Okay, you have mouths to feed, you have a rent or a mortgage to pay, and no one cares. And this is what they want. They want you to work until you die. And the only people who win from that are these billionaires. Those are the only people who win from your suffering. Okay, because they will use you, use all your years, and then kick you out. They will find a way to get you fired so they don't have to pay your pension, to get you fired so they don't have to give you any workers' comp. That's what they will do. They will exploit you and then toss you aside. That's usually what happens. So he goes on to say that anyone who is upset about this, right, that if they were to call in, because his mother-in-law, she would never call in, right? She would never call in. She would never, worry about that. That's beneath her. But those that do call in and are upset, those are the fraudsters. Those are the fraudsters who call in and are upset that their SSI check didn't come in the mail.
A fraudster always makes the loudest noise, screaming, yelling, and complaining.
Some of you may die, but it's a sacrifice I am willing to make.
I want you to think about that, bruh. These are the people you voted into office. Do you understand how stupid y'all should feel right now? Do you understand how, absolutely, you should feel nothing but shame voting these people into office with the expectation that they were going to have your back, with the expectation that they were going to keep you safe, with the expectation you were going to get a job, that you were going to get a high-paying job at that. These people care nothing about you and I, okay? They don't care that you're white at all. And I know many of these individuals, these ignorants that voted for that they thought that was going to be their saving factor. Well, I got the complexion for the protection. They're coming to realize these people don't care about that, bruh. They care about their well-being. They care about their wealth, okay? That's all they care about. This rigid individualism that's been sold to y'all, that's what they promote because it benefits them. That's what you all fail to understand. And this is something that I talk when it comes to black people. This is what they want. They want you to suffer in silence. They don't have a problem with a George Floyd. They don't have a problem with the Breonna Taylor. They don't have a problem with the Willie McCoy, and the list goes on. They don't have a problem with the Tamir Rice. That is all according to the plan. What they have a problem with is you having a problem with that. Is you actually protesting and being upset about the injustices that happen. As long as it happens as according to plan, everything's Gucci. Everything's cool. The moment you're like, well, I shouldn't be treated that way. Oh my goodness gracious. You just have to be special, huh? You just want DEI. The moment in time you say there's been a history of injustice towards me in the myriad of areas, whether it's education, healthcare, I think there should be some reparative justice towards those areas. Oh my God, you're always a victim. Oh, goodness gracious. This is what they do. This is how they get away with their wicked. This lineage of evil, this is what they've been trained to do. They do evil, and then when you call it evil, you're the bad person. You're the evil person for calling out their evil. That's what they do. It's a form of just malicious gaslighting in order for them to exploit the masses and use this as their personal piggy bank. It's the same thing Lyndon Johnson says. I keep going back to the quote because it's a powerful, palatable quote that we're seeing currently. And, until people wake up, this is what we're dealing with. And the problem is there's nothing we can do really. If Democrats don't get their, themselves in order, right? If they doing nothing right now, do nothing Democrats, then we're really screwed. Because this is what you voted into office. This is what you voted into power. And all their buddies, everyone else, such as Elon Musk and all his buddies, they are going to benefit from this. We are not going to benefit.
All right. Think about that. And that goes back to the snake, the story of the snake. Okay. And a whole lot of suffer in silence. Suffer in silence. Yeah, we're going to bomb out and destroy this whole group of people called Palestinians. But you're wrong. You're evil for criticizing Israel for killing these folks. Oh, it's okay that these black folks now, we can keep these people out of college. But it's wrong for you to complain about it. Okay, that's kind of where we are today. And back to the story of the snakes. The snake. Okay, if this individual is not a snake, I don't really know what is. Okay, and also right now what's really concerning me and everybody else, the whole idea now they're even attacking your higher education, Harvard, Dartmouth, the Ivy League schools in general, Columbia. Okay, everybody's shaking now because he's talking about shutting down funding for these institutions if they teach the truth. I'll repeat that. They're talking about shutting down or not taking money and holding from not giving money and refusing to give funds to institutions because they're teaching the truth. Okay. What is this war on woke? war on woke is war on truth. Okay, what's the opposite of woke? Opposite of woke, look it up in the dictionary. Opposite of woke is sleep. So they want you to sleep, okay, and suffer silently. And if you sleep and suffer silently, look at the individual in that picture. Okay, that's what they want everybody to do. Okay, just go along. We only have good news in there. Let's put Fox News and everybody get on step with what Fox News is talking about. I actually had a fellow instructor who, as he's looking at how the news and how Trump's doing things, says, "Wow, he's trying to make it like Afghanistan and Pakistan." You know, you think about that in terms of tying it in very similar to the Taliban. Okay, just like these folks, the Taliban don't really have much respect for women. They want to shut down anybody disagree with them. Okay, and they want to force everybody to live according to their ways. I was reading this article a few years ago, maybe about a year ago, and they're talking about this lady had this pet constrictor, and basically this constrictor hadn't eaten for a while, but it was always cuddling with her at night. Okay, and she thought it was really cute. It was cuddling with her at night and so forth. But the problem is the snake wouldn't eat. Okay, give her rabbits, the rabbit wouldn't eat the rabbit. So eventually she took it to the doctor. And the doctor basically put the snake in the bed with a mannequin, and the snake crushed it. Okay, and then basically come to find out the snake was sizing her up by so-called wrapping around color. The snake was sizing her up and was eventually going to eat her. But think about it, she fed this snake from the time it was a baby and made sure it had something to eat. And at the same time, the snake at the end was trying to eat her. And that's kind of where we are today. And so next week, we're going to talk about deconstruct the whole idea of the attacks on DEI. Okay, think about that. And they're using DEI as an excuse to shut down academic freedom on campuses and freedom to trying to destroy or do away with the First Amendment, because on campuses, individuals are telling the truth. And that's generally where Stalin or Hitler or anybody else comes in, Mussolini, first thing you do is teachers and artists. That's the first people to try to arrest was the McCarthy era in this country, teachers and artists, because those are your free thinkers. And most protests, even in China at that time, started on the campuses because we're talking about higher education. Okay, higher education, being able to think outside the box. But what we're having now is an administration trying to shut that down. So in a way, Putin probably is coaching him on how to take over this democracy. And maybe Putin was correct, okay, when he says America, or at least he knows something some other people may not want to know. Okay, the fact that America is going, but you think about all the positions he put these people in, was Department of Education, FBI, and the head of Doge, okay, a foreigner. You know, it can't be nothing but a sabotage. They're sabotaging, putting totally unqualified people in important positions, okay, to promote a particular agenda. Right. Well, thank you for your time. It's been a lot of fun working with you today. And next week, we're going to deconstruct DEI, particularly as it relates to the attack on academic freedom.